TWI 1501. I'll have to get used to this. Okay, so over here in page 15, okay, we did mention, okay, we must perform the impact analysis to determine the impact of a proposed change by summarizing any effect on the product, right? And then, of course, you can always refer to or GQI 1502 for the list of recommended assessments per change type. Okay, for CQA officers, usually our changes are quite easy. It's not very complex. Okay, so we don't really have to look into GQI 1502, okay, to know what is the recommended assessments. Again, you can see the recommended assessments are all those with the cross, okay. But we are a mature company. We have been around for a long time. So usually we will look into historical records to get an idea of what kind of assessments we will need, to add, because sometimes we need more assessments other than the one that's auto-generated by the classification questions. Okay, so do take a look. And then in the system, we just have to answer yes or no, whether is there an impact. And as assessors, we need to summarize the results of the assessment as well. Okay, as change owners, okay, you may also need to take up the role as an assessor, so you also need to be aware. So when you are concluding your assessment, you must include the rationale for impact or no impact, including any references to support the reason for change. So what do I mean by that? Okay, let's take a look at this example. I know Lawton and Julia have seen this, but the rest haven't. Okay, so let's take a look at these examples. Okay, so this example number 1, it indicated there is an impact and they summarize their results of impact analysis. Example number 2, okay, so this is a different example whereby there is an impact and this is the results of impact analysis. Will you accept such statements for results of impact analysis? Okay, so sorry, I think it's this one. Okay, so this is the results of impact analysis. Would you accept, such statements to say, okay, this is my results of impact analysis? If you cannot talk out loud, you can always type in the chat.
No, I wouldn't. It's Kathleen speaking. I wouldn't accept because it's not detailed enough. Like we don't have like any explanation or anything. Like it just says no electrical impact, for example, but we don't know based on what. Like
the rationale, the reason behind why you conclude it.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
It's just repeating what they have indicated here. Maybe this is an assessment on electrical, parts. Maybe I didn't give the details, but to me, it's like, why do you not like bananas? Because I do not like bananas. It's like kind of response, when I ask my sister, why do you not like bananas? I do not like bananas. So it's not giving you a reason. You can say, I do not like bananas because I do not like soggy food, because banana is soft and then it's soggy. I do not like that's the real reason behind it. But over here, they're just repeating. And what is frightening, in a way, is there is a lot of this such examples in Requise 8. And this is one of the GC audit observation from 2023. Okay. I think this was in North Cove. Oh no, I don't think it's North Cove. Somewhere else. Okay. So they have seen such assessment records, or they just say that yes, there is an impact because you need to do this. That is not a reason. This is just something you need to do to mitigate the effect, but it's not to explain what is the impact. So I'm looking out for is I need to know what have you reviewed. Hey, I reviewed a GQP. That's why in the GQP it says it will have to, because something is changed, you have to do a validation. Very often is assessors fail to realize that um, they think everybody understand. That's why they don't write it down. A lot of their mindset is like that, but for auditors, that's not what they are looking out for. For CQA officers, if you know there's a regulation that says that that's why you need to update the RP, because per something, this has been updated to reflect the correct person. Please make sure you reference that regulation. Okay. Um, yeah, because it's a requirement. So change owners, you can always because some change owners are a little bit hesitant to point out to the assessor that they need to write properly. So I told change owners it's a requirement in our procedure to include any references to support the reason for change. So don't hesitate to inform the assessor, okay, to write properly, okay. And of course, being somewhat new to the company, you may be thinking, Elaine, what kind of references, should I be reviewing or global procedures? Okay. We do have a guidance, VGG 1501 or GG 1501. Okay. I think it's over here. Okay, so there's a GG 1501 whereby it's a tool I encourage new assessors to use. Okay, because we sort of try to group and summarize the applicable references or the systems that the assessors have to assess based on the type of assessments. Okay, so I'm not so sure what will be applicable for you guys. Maybe we can choose quality. Okay, so there are some steps that we encourage you to follow through. Okay, to perform the quality assessments. Okay, so depending on where you're from, okay, not everything will apply to your area. Okay, but that would be a good stepping stone. Okay, for you to start to know where to assess the change in terms of quality assessment. Okay. We don't have anything for commercial excellence, so it has to depend on the area. If you're doing packaging change, I don't think there's a labeling change because it's not available in TrackWise 8. So I think for labeling changes, what they need to review will be in the product design assessment. Okay. I don't know whether this will be better for your job later, but at least there is somewhat something for you to start with. Okay, and of course, because we do not have automation for other assessment consideration, okay, we have listed down all the other assessment consideration in the procedure as well. Sort of like, please consider the product import restriction, product quarantine requirements. Okay, I mentioned about the country of origin. Okay, I don't know how that was missed out, but apparently someone forgot to update the country of origin certificate. That's why when they changed the manufacturing plant, um, the product labels did not tally with the country of origin certificate. Okay, so these are some of the things that we try to get people to assess and making sure they remember, but we can't input and force it in the system. That's why we have requested change owners to go through them in our global procedures. And I think I also have something here, assessment consideration. Okay. Um, I think we added something about country of origin here as well. Why I can remember because that's from me. Okay, over here. It's very important sometimes because I think I'm not so sure whether you are aware, but we have been closing quite a few Ventive sites or Baxter Ventive sites, okay, and pass on the manufacturing to other similar sites. Okay, I know in Asia we have closed at least. In Asia we have closed one in the Philippines. I think in Germany Rostock as well. Okay, so when we close those manufacturing facilities and transfer the production to somewhere else, we must remember to update the country of origin.
Elaine, Stephanie speaking. May I ask a question about the change control? Imagine that we have a procedure in place and we would like to remove one step in this procedure. Does it need to be done through a change control or not? How to evaluate the impact of this change on the process?
Okay. That is a very good question. So first of all, we need to look at whether it's in the exclusion list. Okay. So it's very tricky because in the exclusion list, Appendix C, okay, they do have something stating that, a change to a document only that is not product related. Now, product, how do you prove that it's not product related?
Yeah, but in our example for Kathleen and myself, it's the removing of the home patient activation. So this is really a QA activity that we would like to remove from the procedure. We duplicate the Baxter procedure to the Ventive one, and so we would like to remove that. It's unclear if we have to start a change control for that or not. It's not product related, in fact. So
yeah. Just based on your description, I would think it's still product related because you're getting the patient to do one less step, right? Removing, right? You're talking about removing. Okay, so it's very debatable. I would think that is what I call a gray area. Product related, you may be thinking that, oh, direct product related, but sometimes certain procedures is related to patient rather than the product itself. Okay, so it's debatable. So sometimes we will just initiate a change control just to make sure that we did a proper evaluation and analysis before we roll out the change. But if you ask me something like, I'm going to clone the document from Baxter to Ventive with no other changes in the content. That is not a change code. That's not a CCM because you're not changing the content. You're just changing maybe the nomenclature. For example, GQP 1501 to VGWI 1501. So there's actually no change in the content. So that's why for the cloning of the documents, you don't see a CCM change control. Because we are saying that the content is cloned as well. Only the logo and the nomenclature is different, but all others remain the same. So that is the rationale why there's no CCM. So yeah, so it really depends. If you ask me, I think the safer option is to have the CCM.
Yeah. And I have another topic to discuss. Maybe it's related to the new requirement from the authorities, for example, for the field actions, that we contact our customer via email instead of the paper mailing. This is also something new, so we have to capture in our procedure. Yes, is a change control really needed for such change?
That depends on email where it appears. Is it in the marketing brochure or promotional brochure, or in the website?
No, here it is really a safety notification, in fact. So.
Yeah. So
You know,
if
sometimes it's
if it's
difficult when it's related to procedure. We don't. We it's not. It's unclear if
yeah,
we have
and
to start a
it
change
may have
control
to
or not.
be included in the CCM because it's the same as I have a lot of disputes and questions from the Asia office because many of their distribution activities is actually delegated to the warehouse provider because we simply do not have the manpower resource to manage that, maybe because of the market size. Okay, so most of the time, even for China, whereby the market is big, we still delegate a 3PL, a warehouse provider, to distribute the products across the country. I believe Taiwan as well. Okay, so one of the common regulation I see in the country is you must make sure that the distributor address is pasted on the product because they need to know where who or where and they'll be handling maybe all the customer complaints or customer questions, right? Because that's why you need to have their information addresses there. But they're not changing the product. They say, I'm not changing the product. I'm just going to paste that sticker onto the carton. But the PDO says that since this is reached to the patient, I need to know what is on the carton, right? If not, if something happens, uh, they as a PDO has to be accountable, when there's a recall and stuff. So it may be a very small or unrelated information in the eyes of the commercial office, but in the eyes of the PDO or the product design owner, they need to know. I need to know what is pasted there, regardless, okay, um, whether it's product information or not, because distributor address doesn't seem to be like a product information. Okay, but they need to know. So we look at the question with different aspects. So sometimes we cannot just look at how we look at the situation or the project. If we are not sure, okay, engage the relative organization like the product design owner to get more information. And sometimes even historically we have not been doing that in the past, okay, because of changing regulations. Sometimes what we did not do in the past, we may have to initiate a change now, okay, because we've been using this for 10 years. What is applicable 10 years ago may not be applicable in 10 years later, right? Especially with COVID. So a lot of regulations have changed because of all these things that have the pandemic that has occurred within this 10 years. So no straight answer for your situation.
No, indeed. But that's clear. So we will open a change control to be sure that we capture the change
Yeah, sometimes
correctly.
sometimes we just choose a safer option. We do not want to take a gamble and then risk it.
Yeah, I understand. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you, Elaine. Yeah.
You're welcome. So we were on the topic of analysis, right? Am I? Yep. Okay. So, making sure we engage the assessors and let them be aware that they have to document their results of analysis appropriately. Okay. So I've shown you how you can identify the assessments. Okay. So remember, we have the auto-generated assessments by answering the classification questions. Okay. We can also we need to also make sure that the additional assessment considerations, okay, are being considered, as well as refer to GQI 1502 to consider whether the recommended assessment is necessary or not. Okay. I forgot to mention. Okay. Do not think that when I put a cross here, this is mandatory. I have some sites who did a very drastic move by saying I need to do all this mandatory. But I inform the site is, when you make it mandatory, you must get the appropriate assessor. And there's some assessment that can only be done by certain technical functional group. Okay, that includes advertisement promotional. Okay, you cannot just find any Tom, Dick, and Harry to do that. There's a very specific group that can do that. Clinical. What else? Global pathogen safety, and even for EHS, you have to find your EHS officer, and for CQA office, like Julia, you're in a virtual site. Where do we get an EHS officer to do to that? Because it's a virtual site. So don't take that drastic moves to do certain assessments just because it's across there. Okay, do evaluate, discuss whether it is truly necessary to do so. Okay, another one is these are also can only be done by specific group like toxicology, extractable, and leachables. Okay, so these are very specialized niche group, okay, of people that can only do those assessments. So please don't, make that hasty decision that you must create all these in your change record. Okay. I have some quality approvers who think that you should do it that way. Okay, so this is just a recap of the 5 change classification questions and its auto-generated assessments. Okay, so if you respond yes to question 1, so quality, product design, risk, and regulatory assessments will be auto-generated. If you answer yes to question 2, regulatory and quality and regulatory assessments will be auto-generated, and so on. Okay, and you can see that quality and regulatory assessment seems to be appearing in more than one question. Okay. So if you're wondering if I answered yes to question 1 and 2, does that mean that I have 2 quality assessments? No, you still only have 1 quality assessment record. Okay. How do you identify assessors? With the split, I acknowledge is a bit difficult to know who to access or change. Okay, so within your group, whether it's within your CQA office or within your cluster, please find out yourself who to assign the assessors to. We used to be able to help, people to find assessors, but we find it increasingly difficult to know who is who because of the split. Okay. So to talk to your local team first on who can help you with the assessment. Okay, just extra notes from me. Uh, Quality assessors should come from quality. I think that is simple to understand, right? Okay. Uh, RA assessors should come from the RA team. I think this is also easy to understand. Product design assessment should be performed by our product design owner or delegate. So to summarize our analysis phase, okay, change owners, you must first identify assessors. If they do not have an assessor account in TrackWise 8, don't worry, we'll always get them to document on paper. Do find out from me how this can be done. Communication. Make sure you schedule a meeting, okay? Don't rely on emails, okay, to communicate with the assessors. If they're taking too long, reach out to them through Teams or try to find their number. But most of us is just, because we are working remotely or across different countries, maybe just Teams will be good. And then for manufacturing sites, they will bring this back to their change control board if they have if they have any hurdles, if they met with any hurdles. And for your case is if you have any department meetings with your VP or director, you can always bring it up to them just to discuss the challenges and hurdles that you have encountered. Okay. Not sure whether they can help you, but at least they can help to reach out to those relevant parties or their bosses on why they are taking a long time to assess the change. Okay. So in the analysis phase, majority of the activity is done by your assessor SMEs, but that will also include you because change owners are also assessors most of the time. Okay. And change owners, you have to be responsible to drive the project, make sure they have done their work, the assessors has completed the work, and accountable for timeliness. Remember, you have about 30 days to remain in this phase. If you have stayed a shorter time in initiation phase, then you have a longer than 30 days in your analysis phase. Okay. For us working in Asia, Ali, we face a challenge to work with the Europeans because of the time zone difference. Okay. So that's why we need to give a little bit more time. Okay, as we wait for the response from the PDO, because most of our PDOs, product design owners, are residing in Europe. Okay, so we may have to allocate buffer time, okay, as we wait for their response because of where they are. And also, I'm not trying to say anything, but Europe has this thing called summer break. And sometimes they take a very long summer break. And so the person or the backup or PDO may take even a longer time to respond back. So in Asia, we also have to factor all these waiting time um, when we're waiting for the response from Europe. Okay. I hope my European friends do not take offense, but sometimes it's really a pain to wait for response. Okay. Oh, okay. No response for all of you guys. So I guess you all agree with what I said. So do not rely only on TrackWise 8 to contact the assessors. Have some human touch, by sending some Teams message to the other party for them to work on the assessment records. So these are the 5 most common assessments that is done in TrackWise 8. So the whole intent is to evaluate a change against the inputs, outputs, verification, validation, transfer, PDLM elements. You may not be aware that you're doing it, but you are doing it. Okay, just to remind all of you, okay, to refer to GG 1501 for further guidance. Okay, and that wraps up analysis phase. Any questions before I move to the system?
No, I'm fine, thank you.
Okay, so if you are looking at somewhere else, this will be the time for you to come back to my screen. Okay. So on my screen, I display the list of change records that are still currently open under the EMEA Management Control Entity. Okay, I'm going to show this because most of you are from the EMEA entity, so I guess it's more familiar to all of you. Okay, so remember at initiation phase. Okay, so once you're happy with the entry, okay, one of the manual steps you need to do when you transit from one phase to another is this. From initiation to analysis phase is a manual step. Okay, what I mean manual step is if you don't manually push the record, it will always forever stay in this phase. Open, state, and initiation phase. Okay, so if you're ready to move on to the analysis phase, what do you do? Okay, open your record. Okay, in the activity type, okay, there is an option for you to submit for analysis. Choose the activity type and click on Save and Exit. Okay, so that will manually push the record from initiation phase to analysis phase. And this is a bad example, guys. Okay, why I want to say bad example, you look at the creation. So for my time zone, it has been created on the 5th of November, and it's now the 5th of December. And for the past 30 days or more, he or he, no, has not moved this to the next phase. So I'm not so sure what he or she is waiting for. So you see, a lot of time is wasted waiting. I don't know what they are waiting for. Okay. Anyone knows this person? Maybe you have to ping them. Okay. So once it enters into the analysis phase, how will it look like? Okay, it will look like this. You see this row? Okay. So let me do the expansion of the other assessment records. Okay. Look at this assessment records. Okay. So this is an analysis in process. This is an analysis phase. Okay. So the assessment records, okay, are here. Okay. So they have this auto-generated records and they have the manual created records. How do I know that? I don't know how to explain to you, but that's how I know. Okay, so let's take a look. So those that have been done is all with this padlock, so you know it has been done. Okay. So those that are not done, so they have quality assessment and IT assessment. Okay. So when the assessment records are generated, okay, for the first time in TrackWise 8, okay, change owners, you must assign this to the assessor because this will be empty. There will be no name assigned. So the change owners have to assign to the appropriate assessor. Okay. So there will be an icon here called assign. So you just click on assign to the person. And because this has already been assigned, so the icon is now reassigned, okay, instead of assign. Okay. It's very simple. You just see that button will appear at this space. Okay. So one is being assigned, okay, to the assessor. One-time email notification will be sent to the user. Okay. Of course, if you want to remind the user through Teams, you can do so as well. Okay. But you can wait until 7 days, maybe a week, if they have not responded. Okay. So you can click on the assessment record. Okay. Before you start, you must begin analysis. I think it's in GG15 or GQC. Okay. Do remember to begin analysis. Okay, by selecting from the activity type, okay, to start the analysis. And I don't have it here because he has already started analysis. So that's why it's in process. Okay. So if the assessor comes to you and say, I cannot perform the assessment because there's no selection for me, that's because you need to begin analysis for them. Okay. Once you have begin analysis, okay, that is that will be available over here to pick the response, yes or no, and then results of impact analysis. If there is an impact, okay, it's compulsory for us over here to set up the task to be done. Okay. And then if you want to elaborate further, like, oh, this is a quality assessment by which cluster, okay, or which area, you can also expand the name or change the name. But the analysis type remains as quality assessment. Okay, you set up the task. Hey, I think it's very clear as well. There's add rows, delete, and copy. Okay. If you see anything over here with this search or clear, it means that this is a list of value selection. You have to select the values. Okay. What are the values that you can select? Okay. It's in GQI 1502. If starting from page 21. Okay. It has all the list of the task types that you can select, the values, okay, in TrackWise 8. We even have proposed phase whereby you can categorize the task. Why we provide this here in GQI 1502? That's because you need to enter into TrackWise 8. Same, if you see a red triangle head, this is a compulsory field. Okay, and then you have to write what is your task description, and also the phase that the task can be done. If you are not sure how to write the task description or which phase to allocate the task, okay, as I mentioned, there's always GQI 1502 in from page 21 onwards. So we have all the suggested ways of doing things. Once you are happy with all your entries, as change assessor, impact assessor, please go to the activity type to say that you have complete the impact analysis. And then you can do a save and exit. You only do that when you are very sure what the entries that you have done. Okay. One thing I want to warn everyone is that impact this entry. Okay, it will be locked after you have complete the analysis. So do think carefully whether your response should be a yes or no, because after that it cannot be edited. Okay, so these are one of the fields that will be locked once you have saved the record. So please make sure that we evaluate and make sure the response is what we wanted it to be. Okay, and then save and exit. And it will be padlock after that. See? This is a very interesting change because I think this answer is not correct. Okay, so this is one of the example that I've mentioned earlier. So question 3 is related to manufacturing, and I think whatever change is doing this for Ventive is only affecting the CQA office. So he shouldn't be responding this as yes. Right? You guys? So this is an error. So sometimes I like to showcase other people's records to tell you what to do and what not to do. Okay, so that's the end of my analysis demonstration. Any questions on analysis?
No, thank you.
You guys have been very, very quiet, so I hope I am explaining well. I have to implement my 5 seconds rule.
It's clear.
Just give me 1 minute, a few seconds. I need to order dinner. And get my son to retrieve the dinner. Okay, sorry. Okay. Okay, now all of you are clear about analysis phase. Then we are ready to enter into planning and approval phase. Let me see how much I can cover in 15 minutes. Okay, planning and approval phase. Let's look at page 18 of page 18. Okay, so page 18, this is planning and approval phase. Okay, so this is when we start to build the change plan. Okay, by compiling the tasks identified by the assessors. Remember, when the assessor says there is an impact, they must identify the task to be done. And we must make sure the task that they say must be done is actually in your change plan. So it's a physical record. It has a PR number to that. Okay, and then if you are not going to do any of the tasks that has been assigned to you by the assessors, you must have a documented justification for why they are not included. Usually, the most common justification we see is duplicated task. Okay, some of the tasks, for example, if they say create artwork or create the labels, yeah, it may appear in multiple assessments, the same uh, task. Okay, so sometimes we just categorize one of them as not applicable and say why not, because you don't want to have two same tasks coming up and then you have to do two times, right? Not necessary. Okay, we just have to make sure one of the tasks records gets generated. And of course, we may have staggered release, different change plans for different purposes. For example, uh, in Asia, we have this cluster called T-ship. So there's multiple Asian countries under the cluster. So maybe they may have different change plan for different countries. Okay, because together, although they are been bundled as a cluster, but not necessarily that we our regulations is the same. Okay, so we may have to do what we call a staggered release. That's possible, but as I reviewed all your, whether it's from Taiwan or EMEA, I already see this being used. So I guess it's our change as just simple, very localized. Doesn't need staggered release. Okay, so staggered release would involve the creation of multiple change plans. Okay, the steps on how to do that is all in the GQC. Okay, you can always review that if you really need to use it, but I don't think so. Okay, when you are building your change plan, you must be aware each task in the change plan must be categorized as execution or implementation. Don't worry, we have that guidelines provided in GQI 1502. Task description must include a robust summary of work to be completed. This is very interesting. Okay, let me take a look at this and ask all of you. Okay, look at this task description. If this task has been assigned to you, do you know what you need to do?
Nope.
Unless someone from UK, I trained them. He gave me this response, which I think is very true. So he said, whoever that has been assigned this task must have been working with a change owner for a long time. So they have been long time working partners. They work so long together that you just put a statement there and I understand totally what you want me to do. But how many of us have such good relationship with our working colleagues that you just put something there and I totally understand what you're trying to say. Okay. So even for auditors, they don't believe such relationship happens or do happen in our office. So things like update impacted plan documents, train the impacted personnel. So exactly who, exactly what, is not clear. So we are looking for robust summary, like exactly what you are updating, the document number, okay, and then what you're intending to do. So I'm going to change the COA in the SOP because there's a template in the SOP, right? So we're going to change the template, okay? Because, whatever. So many times, a lot of change owners take the shortcut, because in the manufacturing plant, because they have been working together, they just do not provide the document item number because they think they know. Okay, but what they fail to understand is auditors need to know what exactly are you going to update, how many documents are you going to update, are you updating the correct ones? Okay, not to say that I want to save time and space and do not provide the full list. Okay, that is not a good excuse. Okay, so do remember, please. I expect some entries of document ID. Okay, and if possible, Okay, do state whether which system is residing. I'm not assuming everything is in TCU. I am aware sometimes in CQA offices, okay, not everything is in TCU, especially in RA. Some of it residing in maybe their network drive or something like that. Okay. And there must be a communication task, okay, in your change plan so that we will communicate that, the change will be implemented. It's very, very important. It's the ISO 13485 requirement, okay? So people may ask me, why do we have to go to trouble to have this communication task? Because that is an ISO requirement, okay? All assessments must be completed before you can route the change for approval, okay? And then make sure that we set a target date, okay, to ensure the completion of the change in a timely manner. Okay. But I do realize for projects related to Ventive, it's a bit difficult to gauge the target date because our global day one keeps shifting. So as a shift, and every time we ask the question, I mean, if you have attended Christoph town hall, was it yesterday? Yeah, yesterday. Okay. Um, they have no answer as well. So sometimes when we do the change related to Ventive Evergreen project, it keeps shifting the target date because nobody really knows when it will happen. Okay, so change orders, that would be your planning and approval phase. Okay, so what goes into the change plan? I think I mentioned already. You must have an assigned task owner. Okay, so the default task owner, if there is no task owner assigned, okay, uh, would be the change owner. Okay. So if you need to assign this to someone else, please make sure you update the name. Okay. And then I think I've mentioned this already. Okay. So quality approval and optional approvers need to need to provide their authorization as an approval because before you can execute the change. This is for multiple change plans. So we can actually have multiple change plans to cater for different families, different manufacturing plants, or different languages or regions and markets. Okay. Because this is more complex, please make sure that we get the go ahead from our quality folks. Okay. I don't think we would be doing that because I think all you guys are very focused on what you are doing. And this is how we can manage multiple change plans in terms of different regions. And the minimum requirement for a change plan is to have at least one execution task. Okay. A few years ago, I have a very interesting conversation with one of my representative in the manufacturing plant. So he came to me and say, Elaine, there's no task in my change control because there is no impact to any of the assessments. I said, then why do you need a change? Oh, well, my QMR thinks it's good to record that in checklist 8. So he requested a change control, but there is no impact. There is no task because there's no impact, you see. Um, so I said, okay, then you create a task because the minimum requirement is to have at least one execution task before you can move on, you see. So do remember, I think if we have decided that it is necessary for, to have a change control, okay, then definitely there must be an impact in one of the assessments, and this is where we can create or we can add a task. Okay, so do remember this rule. Okay, and the communication of the task of the change. Okay, so the system do send out email to the users in TrackWise 8 as involved in the record, but If you need to communicate the change to users not within the TrackWise 8, whether it's your marketing counterpart, or anyone else, please, usually the common method that we use as a communication tool is just a simple email. Okay, so we do attach emails to the past record to indicate that communication has been done on what date and to who. Very important, right? Because I hate to say this, but sometimes we have people, colleagues, who said that they did not receive something. Okay, and then yeah, and that's why they said they are not being aware. But the good thing is, I'm not so sure. Are you okay? Our our emails. Okay, I don't know. I think our emails are not do not have a retention period. I think I realized that that means in the past when we're still in Dexter profile, our emails get deleted like every 90 days. When you reach 90 days, not every 90 days, when you reach 90 days, then I realized my emails don't get deleted after 90 days. So it's sort of like being retained for I don't know how many days or years. Okay. So maybe, yeah, you may be able to find your communication email. Okay, but we do not want to gamble on that. So please attach any communication emails as objective evidence. Quality approval. Okay, so the minimum approval for a change plan is a quality approval, although we can add up to 10 optional approvers. This is just a warning. Okay, so if your organization has more than one quality approval, okay, please make sure that you know who to assign to. Target dates. Okay, set a reasonable, achievable target date. Sometimes changes need to be implemented faster because it's tied to CAPA, audit findings, or of FCA, or even complaints. Okay, please make sure you communicate that to your team so that they can finish the assessment in a faster time. Okay, and over here we have an adequacy check. Okay, it's a checklist. Okay, that we encourage change owners to be aware. Okay, because we also ask the approvers to use the same checklist. Okay, when they review and approve the change records. So if you know the expectations from the quality approval and you write the record based on their expectation. Okay, we should see that our records be approved at a faster time. Okay, that is what we are trying to see. Okay, so the adequacy check is found in GG 1502. So it's best used as a Excel template. Okay. Okay, so what happens is we get the approvers to review point by point and grade the different criteria. Okay, so what are the criteria I want the change owners to focus is number one. Um, if you are using any acronyms, okay, um, please make sure that you define them when you're using it for the first time and have good GDP throughout. That means check your work for typo errors, spelling errors, and stuff. Okay, and if you are using any acronyms, make sure that you define them. One of the most common acronyms that have multiple meanings is PI, okay, and PM. Okay, so PI, if I work with RA, okay, usually they'll tell me this is patient insert. But sometimes when based on the project, sometimes they tell me, no, this is packaging insert. Okay. And if you're talking to a common folk along the street, PI is a private investigator. So it really depends on the context. The acronym can refer to different things. Okay. And sometimes when you also write the content of the change description, you must also be clear and understandable by someone unfamiliar with the change. Okay, let's look at this word, printer. What do you understand by the word printer? If I say printer, or if I say inform the printer,
It could be an item or it could be a person.
good catch. Any other response? You know, when I first read this, I was scratching my head. I was thinking, why do you need to inform the printer, as in the printer that I use to print my documents? I was really literally scratching my head. What do they mean by inform the printer? It was one of the, it is a task description. Okay. And the CQA manager, she attended my class and then she was telling me, Elaine, it's our local way of saying the printing supplier. Because you see, it was they need to print new labels, so they have set up a task to say, okay, I will inform the printing supplier so that they can start to produce the new the new labels for us to use, right? And then I was like, oh, okay. Oh, say, oh yeah, this printer, like what has mentioned, is actually the printing supplier, so it's like a person or the company, and it wasn't the it wasn't the normal use of the word printer, because to me the printer is the machine. So I don't really have to inform the machine, right? So she said, no, that's the printing supplier. And she said, they all understand because this is how they use this the word in local context. Okay. But to me, because I'm not from the country, I don't understand the way they use the word. Okay, so do make sure that when you're writing something, make sure it's universal. Okay, regardless you're from, you sort of understand what they are writing. Okay, and also make sure that we do not have non-value add details or confusing information. Okay, what does Elaine mean by that? Just give me a few more minutes. Okay, so what I meant by non-value add. Okay, let me take a look. Okay, so over here in the change description, okay, they have added the names of the core team. Complete names is the real name. Okay, to me is not necessary because all of us know sometimes we have a very high turnover rate. Okay, the person right, after they close the exchange, so I don't really recommend okay, to put down the names of the core teams a bit non-value add. Okay, and you invite a lot of scrutiny from auditors. Why you didn't change this? Why you didn't update that? You know, so don't recommend to have such confusing or non-value add details. Okay, so the rest will be quite self-explanatory. Okay, I've also pointed out that we also get quality approvers to check that the appropriate assessor has been assigned and the summarizing of the results of the assessment, okay, including any references to support the reason for change. Okay, so you can go through the list yourself, but these are just on some of the items I would like you to have, put your attention at. Okay, and I think we are ready to go for our next meal break. But before we go for the meal breaks, okay, I'd like to get you, all of you, to do the training exercise. Okay, so It's not all about me talking and you listening. Okay. All of you also have, okay, to do some work. Okay. So what is the work that you have to do? Okay. I have picked some examples, okay, from the system. Okay. So that, during the meal break, you can try to attempt to write a change description. Okay. You just need to pick one example to write your change description. You don't have to write all, but I think some of you already have some change projects on your hand. If you want to write a change description based on the change project that you already have, okay, you're always welcome to write that and send it to me. I will go through it and send you the feedback, okay? Because if anyway you have to do that, so why not do it now and then let me go through it and see how you can further improve on your writing, okay? So pick one example. I think let's look at the one from Ventive. So I think there's two examples for the Ventive ones. So this is one of them, very, very, very lengthy, 2 pages. And we have another one. Okay. So I tried to structure it based on the 6 sections. Okay. Don't just copy and paste. Oh, this is so good. Elaine just give me everything. You think about it, whether you need to provide more information because I just give you the very, very uh, brief details. Okay. So do remember to write them in the 6 sections. I can show you a recommendation what it will look like, something like that. Okay. This is an example. You don't really have to follow 100%, but this is something that I'm expecting from all of you. Okay. Pick an example that you want to choose. Okay. Don't copy the tables because the tables cannot be copied into TrackWise 8. So do not copy the tables. Try to write them into paragraphs. Okay? I think similar to the examples that I have shown. And then if you are not going to do one of the examples, just delete the example away and write your change description in the next empty page. Okay. So you can just um sorry, I think this is not edited. Okay, so you can write your change description in the next empty page. You just tap 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 and then just start to write your change description here. Okay, how long, how much time you will be assigned to this depends on how long you want to take your lunch. Okay, in the 1.5 hours that I'm going to give you, okay, you are free to arrange how long you want to take to eat your meal and to complete the exercise. I only ask for all of you to complete the exercise by the end of the 90 minutes break.
Can I just ask everyone if 1.5 hours is appropriate for all? I would like it a bit shorter if possible, but then it's only 10:30 in the morning for me, so I'm not ready for a big
Yeah,
meal.
we can get something like a salad or something just to fill the tummy before the end of the class. Because the I think the end of class will be somewhat sandwich what at the late afternoon for UK.
About 2 o'clock, I thought.
Yeah, so you may want to have a late lunch.